You have to admit that there are people who do want to kill Americans.
Yeah, some of them are called the police.
$1 per a human.
There's a certain level of fear that that the system needs to keep inside of people to keep them participating in a certain type of way. The first response to fear is the cathartic expression of consumerism. So when people get too nervous, they gotta offload it in some way.
Mos Def just came back after years of being off the radar. You see, most people remember him as the genius behind Black on Both Sides and one of the few artists who never seemed fake. But behind the scenes, Mos Def was fighting a much bigger battle than fans realized.
But the bottom line is that I was no threat. And I feel that I was made or they tried to make me a public example to discourage people from entering South Africa. If I was
From the protest to the arrest to the South Africa passport drama to the retirement announcement that made people wonder if he was done for good, Mos Def has been through a lot behind the scenes. So what really happened, and what has he been holding back all these years? Let's get into it. Before Mos Def was Yasin Bey, there was just a kid from Brooklyn named Dante Terrell Smith. And believe it or not, this kid was never just trying to get famous. From the very beginning, art was something different to him. It was how he made sense of what was happening around him. And that started at home. His mother, Sharon Smith, who he lovingly called Umi, was a huge part of who he became. If you know the song Umi Says, then you already know she was not just some background character in his life, and writing and self-expression from early on. And that influence showed up in everything he made for the rest of his career. Now here's something a lot of casual fans completely forget. Mos Def started as an actor before he ever touched a mic. He was doing television work as a kid, building that performance instinct long before hip-hop entered the picture.
You gotta get home.
You also told me you're having some problem with your wardrobe. You're not going to your graduation.
It's no big thing. Still get my diploma. They mail it to me.
I never did get mine.
So by the time he stepped into that underground New York rap scene in the 90s, he already knew how to command a room. And that gave him an edge that most rappers his age simply didn't have. Then came Black Star. When Mos Def and Talib Kweli came together in 1998, it felt like a direct response to where hip-hop was heading. Because by the late 90s, rap was getting more commercial, more tied to radio formats and industry image. And here came these two talking about Black identity, police violence, spirituality, and survival, with actual poetry in the writing. So, of course, their album earned them respect. And then in 1999, Mos Def dropped Black on Both Sides. And that is the record that made the myth permanent. That album proved he wasn't just Talib Kweli's partner, and that he was more than capable of holding his own. It had warmth and politics and humor and frustration and love and Brooklyn all over it. And what made it special was that it never felt like he was trying to prove he was smart. Dude was just smart. Some artists make conscious music, and it feels like homework. Contrarily, Mos Def made conscious music feel alive. He could talk about water and capitalism and police and faith and Black survival, and somehow it still felt like something you could ride around to. And for a while, it looked like he had cracked the code. Respected in music, getting major movie roles, being taken seriously by critics. He had the kind of career most artists only dream about, where people see you as genuinely talented across multiple worlds without you having to compromise in any of them.
You ever see a 7-year-old sodomized in half? She was so small. It's broken. I saw 20-year vets on that job. hard guys, man. Just broke down and cried. I was there, I cried. Ain't no fucking woodsman in this world. I don't know why they keep letting freaks like you out on the street. It just means we gotta catch you all over again.
But here's where things start getting complicated. The more visible Mos Def became, the more obvious it was that he was not comfortable being treated like a product. And I need y'all to really sit with that because it explains almost everything that happens later in his life. The first major sign came in 2006. That year, Mos Def showed up outside the MTV Video Music Awards in New York City. However, he was not there to walk the carpet or shake hands with executives and play the game. He pulled up on a flatbed truck and performed Dollar Day, also known as Katrina Clap, right outside Radio City Music Hall.
$1 per a human being. Feel like Katrina Clap. See that Katrina Clap. Listen, homie, it's dollar.
Now I need y'all to understand the context here. This was barely a year after Hurricane Katrina. People were still angry. People were still grieving. A lot of Black Americans felt like the government had watched New Orleans drown on live television and then moved on like it was just another news cycle. And worse, MTV was inside celebrating fashion, red carpets, and award season glamour. So Mos Def was outside reminding everybody that people had been left to die. That's just badass. I mean, while the whole industry is partying inside, this man pulls up on a truck to make sure the noise from the street cannot be ignored. Rather than being managed, he used his fame as a tool to gain awareness. The performance didn't last long, though. The police stepped in, and he was arrested for disorderly conduct, performing without a permit.
$1 per a human.
And depending on who you ask, that was either reckless or necessary. But if you ask me, I think it was both reckless and necessary. And this incident just proved the kind of person Mos Def was. If the industry wasn't going to give him the stage, he was going to build one on the sidewalk outside. And that same year, while his public image was still very much the thoughtful, principled artist, his personal life started making headlines too. His ex-wife, Maria Yepes, took him to court over child support payments, claiming he had fallen short on his financial obligations. And look, I want to be careful here because family court situations are complicated and we are not sitting in that house. We don't know every private detail, but what that story did was crack the image. Because when you are known as the conscious one, the principled one, the man who speaks about community and responsibility, people are going to look extra closely when your private responsibilities become a public issue. And for the first time, people started seeing that the man behind all that art was human and messy and complicated just like everybody else. With the first crack, the pedestal was already starting to shake. And then in 2013, Mos Def did something that had people talking for months. He appeared in a video connected to the human rights organization Reprieve, where he participated in a demonstration meant to show what force-feeding procedures at Guantanamo Bay actually felt like for hunger-striking detainees. And y'all, this was not some small, quiet statement. This was intense. I know it was designed to be uncomfortable, but it was literally physically uncomfortable to watch. Guantanamo detainees had been on hunger strike, and the debate around how they were being treated was a major human rights conversation that mainstream media was largely ignoring. So once again, Mos Def did what he always did. He put his body inside the message.
I remember tubing in the first part of it is not that bad, but then you get this burning. I got this burning. And then it just starts to be like really unbearable. It feels like something was going into my brain, and it started to reach to the back of my throat, and I really couldn't take it.
And the reactions were complicated. Some people praised him for using his platform to speak for people who had no platform. Others questioned whether a celebrity voluntarily simulating something for a camera risked turning real suffering into a spectacle. And I'm not gonna lie, I genuinely understand both of those arguments. But here's the thing, when you look at his whole career, this wasn't a random move. I mean, this was the same artist who had been talking about state power and racism and government violence since the very beginning. Whether you agreed with the method or not, the message was consistent with everything he had always stood for. Now here's where things get genuinely wild. By 2014, Mos Def, now publicly going by Yasin Bey, was living outside the United States, and reports started coming out that he had canceled U.S tour dates because of immigration and legal issues, that he was apparently being denied re-entry into his own country, and the details were never fully explained in any clean, simple way. And that headline alone had people confused, because, wait, how is an American-born artist from Brooklyn reportedly unable to get back into the United States? Make that make sense. And then in January 2016, Yasin Bey was arrested in South Africa after trying to leave the country using something called a world passport.
First of all, I did nothing illegal.
Got it.
Let me just be clear about that. What I asserted was not illegal at all. I invite people to research the World Service Authority, the World Passport, its history, its origins, and it's all there. It's a precedent that existed before I was born, right? Many people in the world have legal rights that they are unaware of.
Now, for those who don't know, a world passport is a document issued by the World Service Authority meant to represent global citizenship. But South Africa does not recognize it as a valid travel document. So when he tried to use it at Cape Town International Airport, authorities said absolutely not. Reports said he had originally entered South Africa years earlier on a U.S passport, that his visitor's permit had since expired, and that he was now being accused of violating immigration laws. His family was reportedly ordered to leave the country too.
I had opportunity to take it to court, but I was looking to work it out in a peaceful manner with the government and over the course of a year, right? Now, to be fair, there's worse places to be detained, you know? In Cape Town, South Africa, I got quite a bit of work done there. But the bottom line is that I was no threat. And I feel that I was made or they tried to make me a public example to discourage people from entering South Africa. If I was entering South Africa, that's one thing, but exit is a whole other thing. And I was on my way to another African nation with my family. So there was no reason for them to go on like that.
Like, think about that for a second. The same man who spent his entire career challenging borders and government authority and state power was literally trapped in a legal standoff over borders and government authority and state power. You genuinely cannot write that. Life handed him the most on-the-nose situation imaginable and then made him live inside it. Eventually, after months of legal limbo, he was allowed to leave. Reports said he apologized to the South African government, charges were set to be dropped, and he left on a U.S passport. But he was barred from returning to South Africa for 5 years. And right in the middle of all of that, he announced his retirement. And y'all, when that statement dropped, it felt like the final piece clicking into place. It wasn't giving sabbatical vibes at all. This was a man standing in the wreckage of a legal situation in a foreign country, saying out loud that he was done with the machine. He was, in essence, saying he was done with exploitation, done with watching labels and platforms and studios collect the real money while artists get the leftovers in a smile. He talked like someone who had been carrying something very heavy for a very long time and had finally decided to put it down. And to be honest, when you go back through the whole timeline, it is clear this moment didn't come out of nowhere. The VMA protest, the child support headlines, the Guantanamo demonstration, the canceled U.S shows, the World Passport, the South Africa arrest. Every single one of those moments was the same man choosing principle over convenience, even when it cost him. So, what was he really trying to say? Well, for starters, the name change is something I think people genuinely underestimated, and I want to talk about it. Walking away from Mos Def made absolutely zero sense from a business standpoint. That name had history. That name had weight. Black star, black on both sides, movie roles, magazine covers, late night television performances. Everything the world loved about him was attached to that name. From a branding perspective, that is career suicide. But from a personal standpoint, it made complete sense. The industry had turned Mos Def into a product, something that could be packaged and sold without thinking about the actual human being behind it. And Yasin Bey didn't want that. He wanted the freedom to outgrow the version of himself that made other people comfortable. To me, that might actually be the most rebellious thing he ever did. True, that's a hard thing for fans to accept because we fall in love with a version of an artist and then we want them frozen there forever. Same voice, same energy. But this man was growing and questioning everything along the way. Take what he said about Drake. He called Drake's music pop, not hip-hop, and compared it to something you would find on a shelf in a mainstream store.
Like, is Drake hip-hop?
Why are you doing this to me?
I know.
Drake is
Because we're here
pop.
for truth. We're here for
Drake
truth.
Drake is pop to me.
Right, that's fair. In the sense that it's charting like pop music, popular music.
In the sense, like, if I was in Target in Houston and I heard a Drake song. So it feels like a lot of his music is compatible with shopping.
Commercial music.
Or it's
Commercial music,
shopping with an edge in certain instances.
And people lost it. Some said he sounded bitter. Some said he was gatekeeping. Some said he was the old head who couldn't handle how the culture evolved. And like, I understand all of those reactions, but here is what nobody wanted to sit with. He wasn't saying Drake lacks talent. He was saying something about what happens when music stops being made to say something and starts being made purely to be consumed. That is a different critique, and it is consistent with everything he has believed since day one.
It was not an opportunity to try to slander him or to clown on him. I have reached out to him. I have no response just yet, but I'm not keen to talk about people or to them through a screen. I prefer to talk to people directly. But I will say this, the young man is very talented. He's been able to be very successful with that talent, and I have no issue with his success or anything that he's been able to achieve as a result of his talent. I do feel that some of the criticism that he's received in the past has been mean-spirited and unfair. So I don't want to participate in that. And if I was perceived to be harsh or mocking or taunting, that is not my intention. And Drake, if you're watching or if you come across this, that's not my intention, brother.
and then he extended that into the streaming conversation. He has been openly critical about how platforms pay artists fractions of a cent per stream while the platform collects billions, how the shift to digital has made music disposable, how the algorithm now decides what gets heard. And that lands differently when it is coming from somebody who built an entire career on the idea that art should mean something beyond what it earns. And then in 2025, after everything, he came back. Forensics, produced by The Alchemist, and it wasn't a commercial rollout or a press tour designed to make people forget what he said about the industry. It was personal and political and raw and completely on his own terms, which is exactly how every meaningful thing he has ever made has felt. And I'm not gonna lie, the timing of it hits different when you know what he was carrying going into it, because 2023 brought the heaviest chapter of all. His mother, Sharon Smith, passed away. His backbone, who helped shape how he moved through the world, the woman behind Umi Says, gone. And anybody who really knows his music knows that loss is not just personal, it runs through the entire story. But he came back anyway and made something. Now that takes a completely different kind of strength than anything you can rehearse. So after all the albums and the protests and the arrests and the passports and the retirement announcement and the grief and the comeback, here is what I actually think happened to Mos Def. He didn't disappear. He just stopped performing availability for people who felt entitled to him. Because in a celebrity culture where everyone is expected to post and explain and clarify and promote and respond and monetize every moment of their existence, Yasin Bey chose distance. He chose privacy. He chose to belong to himself instead of to the camera. And the industry does not have a category for that. It genuinely does not know what to do with it. Hollywood loves the conscious artist as long as the consciousness stays marketable. They love the thoughtful interviews. They love the socially aware lyrics. They love the intelligent, principled Black artist aesthetic as long as it can still be sold and streamed and controlled. But the second that same artist says, actually, I don't want to be handled like inventory, suddenly he is difficult. And here is what really sits with me about the whole thing. Yasin Bey was never the first Black artist to be celebrated for his authenticity and then questioned the second that authenticity became inconvenient. We have seen this pattern over and over in this industry, and every single time they call it disappearing, when really what happened is the person just stopped pretending. True, he made messy choices and he paid for some of them publicly. He's human, like we all are. Do you think Mos Def is being too difficult by not compromising his principles? Or do you think the industry is being unnecessarily cold to him? Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I'll see y'all in the next one.